This is Gospel Music Today. We are at the National Quartet Convention. Sitting next to me is Candy Hemphill Christmas. And Candy, welcome to Gospel Music Today.
Thank you so much. It's a joy to be here.
We have some things we want to talk about, but I want to find out how you got involved in Southern gospel singing. I know you came from a singing family. Did you always grow up singing?
Well, I started singing to be able to travel with my parents, the Hemphills. Otherwise, I was left at home with a babysitter. I'm a third-generation gospel singer. Of course, Howard and Vestal Goodman were my aunt and uncles. My mother sang with the original Goodmans, and they sang at my grandfather's church in Louisiana. My mom met my dad and married him and became a Hemphill, and they started singing. So it's a generational thing, I think.
Was there a certain time when you knew that this is really what you wanted to do?
Well, I think so. I traveled on the road with my folks because I wanted to be a part of the group and a part of the family. But when I got a true conversion in my heart and in my life, then I wanted to share the gospel. And the most obvious place to share the gospel is in gospel music, because that was what we were doing. And when I had a true conversion in my heart, then it became more than a vocation. It became a ministry, and I felt a call of ministry on my life.
Now, we hear a lot, and we really, one of our goals is to get down there and see this one day. We hear a lot about that bridge ministry in Nashville. Tell me about that.
Well, several years ago, I was suffering from depression, and I'd lost my appetite. I was weighing around 100 pounds, and the doctor wanted to medicate me and hospitalize me. And I said, I think I have a better way. I'm not going to, it's okay for some people, to go that direction. I think that you should do what it takes to get through a tough time. But for me, I felt God dealing with my heart. And so about that time, an older gentleman told me that there were homeless people living under a bridge in Nashville, and that he was roasting hot dogs for them, and would I be interested in going? And I said, I think I would. And that was 7 years ago, and I've barely missed a Tuesday night since. Right now we're feeding about 350 to 500 homeless people. We have a 20,000 square foot warehouse in Nashville where we have coats and blankets and groceries. We literally set up a church under a bridge, sound system, lights, and we feed the hot meal first. Many of your homeless ministries will make a homeless person sit for an hour and listen to a message, and then they get the food. We feed them first, and then they get great gospel music, get a message, and then after the church service is over, we give each person their grocery bag. They can get toiletry items and new clothing articles, whatever they want. And it's just been a very rewarding thing. It's an honor to feed God's people, to feed the poor. And Jesus even said the first thing out of his mouth, he comes out of the wilderness and he sits down in the synagogue, and they give him the Bible. He reads out of Isaiah, and he said, "He has anointed me to preach the gospel, to preach liberty to the captive and those that are bruised." And he said, and to preach the gospel to the poor. And so I really sense that in this hour, we are a more conscious, socially conscious nation. There is a lot out there about feeding the poor or whatever. I believe that's something from God. I believe that's something that God's put in the hearts of the body of Christ, to reach out to the streets and reach out to the poor.
How many people are involved in that? That's a huge operation.
Yes, sir, it is a huge operation. We have about 150 volunteers that rotate. All the volunteers don't show up every Tuesday night, but as their schedule permits. So we have about 150 volunteers. We've had many of the gospel music artists there. We've had the Perrys come down and sing, and we've had Sonia Isaacs, and even country music artists. We've had Amy Grant, we've had Marty Stewart, Connie Smith, those kinds of people who want to come down and do something for the Lord in a tangible way. And Amy Grant, as popular as she is and world-renowned, she stood in the serving line, and she served the soup and the food to the homeless, and what an inspiration she was.
Well, not only are you helping those people physically, but these are people who probably are not in church every Sunday and don't hear what they need to hear.
That's exactly right. Most of these people would not go into a formal church building, and we are actually taking church to the streets. And many years ago, there was a tremendous revival on the streets of Nashville. Ian Bounds and Billy Sunday preached. There was a huge tent. They set up 4 times a day. 10,000 people attended. And as a matter of fact, Thomas Ryman was saved in that revival. He went 7 streets over and built a church to house that revival, which was the Ryman Auditorium, as you know. 23 years later, it became the Grand Ole Opry House. So street ministry is not a real foreign thing to the city of Nashville, and the city of Nashville has been very gracious to us in allowing us to do this.
Now tell me about this book.
This book is called On the Other Side, Life-Changing Stories from Under the Bridge. And the book begins with my depression and what God did in my heart, the work of grace that God did in me, that I could be able to extend grace to the homeless. And then begins my journey and all the miracles, many salvations that we've seen. There's a young man who came to me who weighed 108 pounds, had staph infection, severely ill, a crack addict. He got saved under the bridge. He is now over the entire state of North Carolina for Celebrate Recovery. He's one of the staff pastors on a several thousand member over the congregation there. And there are many, many stories of what God's done under the bridge, and I want to get the story out.
Now, where can we get the book?
You can get it on Amazon.com. You can get it in your local Christian bookstore, and also Books A Million and Borders.
Candy, thank you very much for talking to us on Gospel Music today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
There's more coming up on Gospel Music Today.